is a pussycat. Looks set to pounce. There he is now. But this is a cat, and it's named Grumpy because, Grumpy, he makes each house that he goes into his own, and he scares off the cats who live in each of the houses. When the surprised owners turned home, Grumpy leapt through the air at them, hissing.
With the greatest of ease.
On a flying trapeze? Anyway, he hissed.
Sounds like steam escaping.
And he scratched their hands and arms. His antics on a small, leafy street have been described as a 4-month reign of terror by neighbors who finally caught Grumpy and put him in a cage. Was the nastiest cat we ever saw. Was just attack you? There he is now. Come at you with his claws and teeth. You come home or woke up to see it, he'd go nuts. He'd bounce off furniture at you before running out of the door. But you never saw Grumpy in the street or outside your home, which is why we named him the Phantom Cat.
It's because there was a curfew.
You only saw him when he was in our home, so the cat would just disappear.
He walks in the door and says, "It's me!"
Anyway, at first the neighbors felt sorry, but after receiving cuts and scratches, you said to the ASPCA, "Help! Somebody help me!
Help me! Help me! Somebody help me! Help me!"
Shut up! Anyway, they called the ASPCA. They trapped.
Isn't anybody going to help that poor man?
That poor cat.
Hush, Harriet. That's a sure way to get him killed.
Baby, you are so talented, and they are so dumb.
Stuck on dumb.
Anyway, they finally trapped Grumpy behind the sofa.
Yes.
And used a broom to push it into a cage. Helen Briggs of the ASPCA said, "It's very unusual for the pussycats to act with such ferocity. I mean, they go into other people's homes because they're curious, but they don't just normally attack strangers. The poor kitty must really be at wit's end and must not have any love at all. I hope it has a microchip inside it so we can find its owner." Oh, well, that'll be good. Put a microchip
She
inside.
went to the fishmonger, fishmonger, fishmonger.
AM News Talk 1360. Well, you heard about the story, I forget, where was that, with the lady with the kid and the cat? It was somewhere local.
Somewhere in Westmoreland County, I believe.
Yeah, Westmoreland County. This woman apparently complained about the neighbor's cat.
Oh, yes.
She complained a couple times and went to the cops. So they got rid of the cat, but now every time the lady comes out of the house, the 14-year-old kid goes, "Meow, meow." And now the lady's charged the kid with I don't know what. And
Aggravated mayhem.
Aggravated. I can't say what I was going to say.
Arson. Murder.
Don't say it.
You said that twice. I liked it.
And anyway, so the judge...
Wait a minute. What have you got in your mouth? That's what the judge said. What have you got in your mouth? Nothing. Nothing, eh? Lyle? Gum.
Gum.
Chewing gum online, eh?
I hope you brought enough for everyone. I didn't know there was going to be so many. Boy, is he strict. Anyway, so every time the cat came out, or the lady came out, they meowed. The other story...
Nothing makes news like an animal story.
You heard about the potty talk at CNN.
No.
Did you hear about this? Yeah, CNN apologized. Kyra Phillips. They go to the news to carry George Bush's speech. By the way, I have a feeling this could have been done on purpose. They go to the news to carry Bush's speech on Hurricane Katrina. She goes to the ladies' room, Kyra Phillips, and apparently did not turn off her wireless mic. So while Mr. Bush is saying, "We're going to rebuild this fair city. We're going to turn it into San Francisco. I'm coming home again." Anyway, she's in the bathroom. And you hear her talking to another lady. I don't know whether you actually hear them going to the bathroom, but she's talking to a lady about her husband, her kids, and her brother and sister. In the meantime, Bush is going, "We're going to rebuild this city." What the hell's the name of this city again? You know. And
we're on a road to nowhere.
On the road to Mandalay. And that's the way it went. So CNN had to apologize for that one. And, by the way, I never asked you this one before. The Brits, not that we care, but they voted Sgt. Pepper the greatest album of all time. Jackson's Thriller #2, U2's Joshua Tree, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, Floyd's Wish You Were Here, blah, blah, blah. If I put a gun to your head and said, what's your 2 or 3 favorite albums of all time? Would Thriller be one of them? What were the other ones?
No, I hardly play Thriller.
But of all time, just of all time.
Purple Rain is up there.
Prince.
With Prince, yeah. I'm not ashamed to admit that there's a soundtrack for the musical Wicked that I've been listening to a lot lately.
And, of course, the soundtrack to the musical Yentl.
And you're going to start on that? But no, that's not one of my favorites all time. Probably anything by John Williams, the composer of all the Star Wars, Superman, Indiana Jones music. Pick any one of those, and it's one of my favorites. But the one I would play anytime at all is Star Wars music.
All right, question number 2. If you had to spend the rest of your life on a desert island, what 3 movies would you take with you?
Star Wars, the very first one. Probably Glengarry Glen Ross.
Really?
Yeah, I love that movie.
I've got to see that again. And I didn't care for it the first time.
Excuse me. There's a movie with Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, Elizabeth Perkins, and Jim Belushi called About Last Night from 1986.
I remember the movie.
I love it.
Really? You like it
There
that
was
much?
a week in 1985 or 86 when, and this is a sickness, but it was temporary. Like every weekday morning for an entire week, I watched that movie.
You're kidding.
I love it that much. It's so funny. Belushi's actually funny in that.
Well, I've done that when I was a little boy. There was a thing in New York called the $1 Million Movie. It was on from 7:30 to 9, and then they'd rerun the same movie 11:30 to 1.
Now, accounting for inflation, what would it be called today?
Probably about $1.380. But anyway, they would run the movie, and it was in between Dodgers games. So
okay.
If they had baseball on, they would run the same movie. So you would get hooked on this. I'm a little boy. You get hooked, and all weekend long, they just ran the thing from like noon. The same movie, all right? I must have seen, the first time it was on television, King Kong 4,831 times. I interviewed a man named Henry Morgan, humorist named Henry Morgan, and Henry had made a movie in 1948 called So This Is New York with Rudy Valley and Leo Gorcey. Big cast, as you can tell. And I'm interviewing Henry, and I started talking about this movie and doing dialogue. And Henry Morgan said, "You're the sickest man I've ever talked to in my life. Why would you know that?" I said, "Henry, as a little boy, they would just show them over and over." AMC does the same thing. If they show El Dorado, which is Rio Bravo all over. You ever see El Dorado?
No, I avoid Westerns.
But Rio Bravo, you couldn't avoid that.
I've never seen Rio Bravo.
I
only know of Rio Bravo from you and your guys on the old Saturday show.
You're kidding.
So I never saw it.
You know that Walter Brennan record in there? I know I told you to cue up something else, but Walter Brennan and Ricky Nelson and Dean Moss are wonderful Westerns.
Any African Americans in Rio Bravo?
Well, now let me think. I think Woody Strode had a line. I'm not sure.
That's right. Give a line to Woody.
They gave a line to Woody. But anyway.
Is Dennis here?
Who, Dennis Day?
Dennis Bowman.
Dennis Bowman?
With Woody.
Well, they fired, Steve Teeling, the guy who looks like Dennis
Bowman. You mean
he
didn't leave to pursue other opportunities?
No, he went
Spend more time with his family?
Let me put you this way. He went to Albany. So he was blown out, all right? I mean, as bad as Pittsburgh is, even Albany, my God. Anyway.
Well, they handed him his last check. You know what it said?
What did it say?
Pay to the order of Dennis Bowman.
Is that what it said? Well, they were the same guy.
I know, that's
They were the same person. He'll turn up on Channel 2, and I say, "Is that Steve Teeling?" "No, that's Dennis Bowman." But at
least it didn't say pay to the order of C.S. Keys.
You weren't at Channel 11 the night. I don't think. No, you weren't there. I don't think. But I know you were there one time with Borelli and her daughter. We did the show together. I don't think you were there this particular night. If I told you this story before, I ain't going to apologize because it's a funny story. We're waiting to do the John McIntyre Night Talk show, and Borelli had to use the facilities, and they pointed.
And she left her microphone on.
She talked to the bathroom about what a schnook I was. But anyway, no. As she went toward the lavatory, she all of a sudden jumped like about 3 feet. Well, she had looked off to the side. She thought it was a dead body. And she's going, "There's a dead body over here." And I went over. I said, "Dummy, that's Chester Drawers." And it was.
You know what Chester said to her?
What did he say?
"I think the black guy did it."
Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
I didn't realize that. Anyway.
What was it, Bob and Chuck and Soap?
And Soap, yeah. Well, anyway, to go back to this Rio Bravo, they remade the movie. In Rio Bravo, the drunk is played by Dean Martin. In El Dorado, it's played by Robert Mitchum. They give Dean Martin a bath in Rio Bravo. They give Robert Mitchum a bath in the other one. Angie Dickinson.
Sure this isn't Spartacus?
Honest to God, it is and it's John Wayne. Now, in Rio Bravo, Ricky Nelson plays the part of Colorado, all right? In this movie, I'm not making this up, James Caan plays the part of Mississippi. It's the same guy, except that James Caan cannot sing with Dean Martin and Walter Brennan as Ricky Nelson did. "Get along home, Cindy, Cindy." And Dean's going, "Oh, let me look at my Rolex in 1854. And you know what it is that Walter Brennan sang? What was it Walter saying?
No fields to plow.
Yeah.
with the sun beating down.
Yeah.
Across the fields I see.
Who is that?
That mule.
And who else is over there?
Old Rivers.
And who are you?
And me.
Joan Rivers.
Bring in the audience. Bring in the violins. With Floyd Kramer on piano. Set up that stand.
Yeah, don't try and tell me that they'll give anybody a recording contract today. A few of them made some clunkers back then.
Oh, well, that was a #1 record. Well, you know, I watched about 2 seconds of some musical thing last night that Richard was on. I couldn't tell you what it was, Little Richard. And
was it during a pledge break?
No. It was one of these regular shows, and then they had Randy Travis singing a duet with Cheech Marin. I'm not making this up. Well, Cheech used to sing with a band back in Canada, and the truth of the matter is, I don't know what they sang.
Isn't that just celebrity duets?
Celebrity duets.
Simon
and I got news for you. Travis and Cheech were good. They really well. Travis, we know, can sing.
Yeah, Jericho got bumped off.
Is that right?
Yeah, Chris Jericho did.
All I know about Cheech is he and what's his name had a band up in Vancouver. Bobby Taylor and the something or other. This is pretty cool. But Richard, I was on some panel. Was that the same show that Richard was on the panel?
I don't know.
Well, whatever it was. And I still love him in that commercial with that lady.
Oh, that's hysterical.
That is the coolest thing in the world. And does or does not Burt Bacharach look like Lurch?
Yeah, he does.
Yes. Do we have a
Mrs.
break
Adams.
to take? Thank God. Elaine will be here, by the way. She's divaing all over the place. You know. But what do we have to call her now?
Coming.
Grand Dame Elaine.
Coming down the street in a rickshaw.
Is that what that is? I wasn't sure. Is there a 3:30 break here? No 3:30 break?
I heard.
Oh, okay. Well, then
I heard about that this morning.
I wasn't
listening to the Lynn Collins show.
Well, of course.
On AM, what is it? AM News Talk.
AM News Talk 1360, where it's 3:30.